with the right tools for smooth, professional call handling. As the official business IT partner of the Huskers, we know how to keep Nebraska businesses connected. Learn more at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service bumper to bumper, we'll treat your vehicle like it's your mother's. Doesn't get any better than that. So call 402-488-8934 and HIS Auto will make you glad you did. 5% off, mention this ad, and for sure your mother will be proud you called. 402-488-8934, HIS Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
Hi, it's Charlie Stone and Andy Goodyear of Honda of Lincoln with more exciting news for area car buyers.
Charlie, it's just announced that Honda of Lincoln has won 3 of the Lincoln Journal-Star's Lincoln Choice Awards: Best New Car Dealer, Best Auto Repair, and Best Place to Get Your Oil Changed.
Wow, that's great, Andy. Anything else?
Yes, we were runner-up for Best Pre-Owned Dealer and Best Tire Dealer. A lot of people don't understand that we do sell tires here.
Very exciting, Andy. Why do you think your dealership is winning so many awards?
Charlie, we simply say it's the Honda of Lincoln way of doing business.
Looks like Honda of Lincoln is the great news headquarters for Lincoln.
Yes, and even all of Nebraska, we are also announcing that Honda of Lincoln's the only dealer in the state of Nebraska to win the prestigious Honda President's Award for 2024.
Honda of Lincoln, Nebraska's #1 volume Honda dealer, 27th and Yankee Hill Road, or online at hondaoflincoln.com.
Play ball! Pitch the perfect idea for a family outing or date night with tickets to the next Salt Dogs game. Nothing says summer fun like an action-packed evening at Haymarket Park. Come root for the home team with a hot dog and a cold drink. Plus, visit saltdogs.com to learn about special events and promotions, including group discounts. Don't miss out on the thrill and excitement of a Salt Dogs win. Visit saltdogs.com to reserve your tickets today.
Select Plumbing and Utility has been serving Lincoln and the surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs, from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197.
In every office, there's 2 types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe.
What's better than supporting your favorite radio station and eating delicious Nebraska-made products? Smoking Gun Jerky of Nebraska wants to highlight you, the listener, on the 93.7 The Ticket Wall of Fame at the store. Stop by the store at 48th and R in Lincoln and see their huge variety of small batch gourmet jerky. Or if you're not in the area and want to try some, go to smokinggunjerky.com and enter code EARLY for 10% off your purchase. It's the ultimate low-calorie, high-protein snack at Smoking Gun Jerky of Nebraska.
93.7 The Ticket is your home for every Kansas City Royals baseball game. Bobby Witt Jr., Salvador Perez, Vinny Pasquantino, and the rest of the Royals attempt to make the postseason for the 2nd season in a row. And you can hear all the action on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Your home for Kansas City Royals baseball. Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, welcome to Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in. Harrison Arens going to go solo this hour all the way up until 9 o'clock, and then we'll play Best of the Ticket. Adam Carricker hopped on today, and he was great. I believe he had on Ricky C. Simmons. So from 9 to 10, we'll play that one for you guys to keep you in the loop locally before we send you out there nationally for the national airwaves. But With that being said, we're going to keep it on college football since it is officially I almost said Husker football weekend, officially college football weekend. Huskers don't play until next week, Thursday, versus Cincinnati, and we'll talk about Cincinnati a little bit. We'll go through who is Cincinnati to begin with. So head coach Satterfield, Scott Satterfield at that. He is a successful coach. Overall record, pretty solid, 80-56. Puts him above 500 at 58%, round up, 59% winning percentage. Problem with him, though, is it's been a really slow start to Cincinnati. Everywhere he's gone, he's had some pretty noticeable progression early on. Started with Appalachian State 2014. First year, he brought him 7-5. And then 2015, 2016, 2017, it was 11-2, 10-3, 9-4. 9-4 being the worst record he had at Appalachian State outside of year one. But despite that, all 3 years they won their bowl games. And then, like I said, 2018, he does bounce back. They go 10-2, and they do lose out in their bowl game, unfortunately. But they got to a point where they're ranked 25 nationally. So at his time at Appalachian State, by the time he left, he did officially get them at least ranked in the top 25. And playing at Appalachian State, that's pretty impressive. Then he goes to Louisville. First season, Louisville, 8-5. Then it gets worse, 4-7, but then it bounces back 6-7, 7-5. So at 7-5, that was his last year at Louisville. And then, of course, we know Cincinnati goes horribly year one, 3-9. Year two, barely improved, 5-7. Now it's year three for Cincinnati. And historically, year three has, been pretty okay for Scott Satterfield. Once he's really got his culture around the program, I don't know what this Cincinnati team is going to look like. If you look at some of Cincinnati's camps, they got some interviews with Scott Satterfield. He's very critical on the guys, especially at their last scrimmage. Really just calling the whole thing sloppy, penalties, guys not, jumping off sides. He's frustrated, which ironically concerns me more. I think he kind of knows where he's at in terms of the hot seat. He knows that he needs to prove something this season. And I think I think those guys maybe could have had a pretty good practice and he might have still came out like that to the press. I mean, he's going to be very critical on his team to get this thing right because he knows his job security is pretty much gone if he has another poor season, especially if they don't go bowling, especially if they don't win 6 games. It's not like Cincinnati's a blue blood school, but they do expect a decent football culture around there, and it just hasn't been good at all under the tenure of Scott Satterfield so far. So you got that team. They're heading into Arrowhead. The spread's 6.5. Nobody's anticipating Cincinnati to go on there and beat a neutral site game, which in all reality, it's a home game for Nebraska on a neutral site, but we're going to have maybe a 80-20 if we're generous, maybe like a 90-10 ratio in terms of Husker fans and Cincinnati fans. It's going to be a tough environment for those guys to play, but I do think Scott Satterfield, his whole message is be letting the guys know nobody's counting on you to win this, and really try to get under his own player's skin and demand that extra level of effort. Because, you can say what you will. It's one of my favorite Rocky quotes. If you don't have anything to lose, you're dangerous. And I think that might have been Creed. Could be in the Rocky movies as well. But, it's total truth in that. Sounds cliche. It sounds silly. But, yeah, if you got nothing to lose, you become a pretty dangerous individual. There is nothing at stake that you care about other than completing whatever task is in front of you. And that's kind of the fear of Cincinnati. Heading into that Thursday game, all eyes on you. Nebraska might feel those eyes. I don't think Cincinnati is going to feel one of them. I don't think they're going to care about whatever prestige the rest of the nation is looking at Nebraska all of a sudden. They're putting Nebraska as a playoff team. Like Cincinnati's not getting any love. No one's counting them to do anything. Everyone's just kind of writing them off already. That's a team that can be dangerous simply because there's no expectation to win. So if they win, it's a win-win situation. If you show up there and you lose, nobody expected you to win. If you show up there and win, you get all the flowers and roses saying, wow, you took down a Nebraska team on a neutral site that was totally unfair in terms of what you guys had in travel and fan recognition, and then how it just kind of kept moving closer to Lincoln, Nebraska. A lot for Nebraska to lose, not a lot for Cincinnati to lose. A lot for Cincinnati to gain, not necessarily a ton for Husker football to gain. I think it's a little bit of an understatement. You definitely get that momentum. You win that game at Arrowhead. That gives you some easier games. I believe it's Houston Christian right after. Got to double check here. Akron, then Houston Christian. So, I mean, realistically, if you take care of Cincinnati, that Husker team's 3-0 rolling in. And, with Cincinnati, we'll see. I believe their quarterback, was it Sorsby? Yeah, Brock Sorsby. We'll see what he looks like as well. Not necessarily the most intimidating quarterback out there. I'll quickly kind of pull up his stats, but nothing Cincinnati is going to do, I don't think, is going to be super shocking. They don't run a super up-tempo, fast offense. They're just kind of trying to play within themselves. So when it comes to Cincinnati, Scott Satterfield, and me and Rudy talked about it, the only thing Dylan Rayola and crew and the rest of that team, the coaching staff, just play within yourselves. And it's such a weak answer, but it's absolutely what they need to do. Not playing within themselves is why they can't ever win games when we hit October, November, December. That's what happens. It's like we just stop playing within our own means. We have to start taking risk that we don't want to. All of a sudden, we're playing from behind. And that's just where, again, I think that's where that middle of the season really crumbles for Nebraska. Is we get to that, you can call it the middle third of Big Ten teams. You think of your top third being your Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State. If you want to be nice, you can throw in Indiana for what they did last year, although I'd still kind of put them in that middle third. Oregon, I think you'd put those guys up there, certainly. And it's kind of waiting on who's going to be there next. And to be there next, you got to take care of those middle teams. And that middle third is, your Minnesotas, your USC, your UCLA, your Rutgers, even Maryland at times, although I think this might be a pretty down year for Maryland. Those are the teams that Nebraska struggled to beat consistently. And that's the period of time, middle of the season, where Nebraska is just kind of slipping out of that playoff, or no, I shouldn't say playoff range, but for the longest time, just that bowl range where we cannot figure out a way to just take care of the teams we're supposed to. And it seems, when we have everything figured out, even last year, I always think of that Purdue game. Purdue was, by and large, one of the worst teams in the Big Ten last year. To the point this year, new head coach, and the only returning player they have is Mockabee. Everyone else got up and out of town at Purdue. We just barely beat Purdue. The final score is a little bit deceptive, but again, I always point out, it took a John Bullock pick 6 to really kind of flip the game. Otherwise, our offense wasn't doing much of anything. Their offense wasn't doing much of anything. Defenses were playing pretty good. But again, that's a team who, that's not even middle third. We're talking bottom third team in the Big Ten. And Nebraska kind of had to have some great defensive momentum shifting plays to break through. So when you go through the Big Ten and you look at that middle of the schedule, like, to me, it's what's going to come down to every time. We can get lost about it. We can talk about Michigan and how important that game is. We can talk about Cincinnati, as I just did. We can talk about Penn State. We can talk about Iowa. But come October, can we beat Michigan State, Maryland, Minnesota, Northwestern, and actually go 4-0? Because that's what we write on paper, at least, the fans, the diehard fans, and I'm not any better. I'm guilty of it too, where I want to put this team down 4-0. But Michigan State, Maryland, Minnesota, Northwestern. Do we actually go 4-0 there, or do we kind of fall into that same trap we always do? Now, I am optimistic. I don't think this is a curse that we have to live under forever, but that's why I always kind of hold my breath, because we have yet to really prove to me that we can do that against those middle tier teams. And with Matt Rule, with what they have going right now, I love the coaching staff. I think Terry Bradden, I'd say it all the time, was an absolute steal getting him as that defensive line coach. I just like guys that are from winning cultures, and the Kansas City Chiefs, if anything, are a winning culture in the past 5 years. You can go even further back, really, since Mahomes took over and Andy Reid has been calling the shots. That Mahomes-Andy Reid dynamic has been causing havoc. And a lot of that is just that winning culture. And you have Brad in there, who worked with Chris Jones, one of the best to do it on the defensive front. I just like that. And so far, everything he said at the podiums, again, it's coach speak. You got to take it with a grain of salt, but at least the personality of who he is. And him celebrating Elijah Judy, same thing with Matt Rule and really all the guys. It gives me hope that college football is still somewhat of what it used to be, where it is that student part isn't a complete, we just put it at the end of our title to fit the rules. No, we are a student athlete, and we take pride in the student part, because football is not forever. One bad injury away, I might not go to the NFL. one bad injury, I might not get that NIL deal that I thought I was going to get for certain. So when you hear guys like Terry Braden and Matt Rule talk about Elijah Judy in that way and congratulating him for being a first generation graduate, like that's the stuff that still matters in college football. Even if it's outside of football, that's culture. You have to build that culture. And if you want to get the best recruits, some recruits' parents actually do care about the school part. In fact, I think a lot of parents care about that school part for their kids. So when you have a coach like Matt Rule, have a coach like Braden, who is openly celebrating a first-time graduate at the podium, that's going to give the parents who are sending their kids to the middle of nowhere, for a lot of these kids that show up here to Nebraska, it's very different. A lot of, some people might call it vanilla. Some people might call it, the heartland. I will say it's some of the nicest people you meet, though. But at the end of the day, that school part's still going to be important. You're going to be in this place where everyone around you is nice and cares for you. But if there's no real pressure to make sure you follow through on the school part, then you'll just fall through. Nebraska puts pressure on the student athletes, at least from my interactions with them, that those guys, from bowling, I think bowling had like a 3.7 or 3.8 average GPA. I wasn't even that, and I didn't have to go to practice. The football team's GPA has been solid throughout the years, and I think it might even get better the way those guys push that. And again, I think all that stuff, it does matter. As much as the wins matter, that GPA and the stuff on the side, the school, like that's going to sell parents that I am not only just looking out for your kid because he's going to make me a better coach and give me more wins. He's going to become a better person on his way out the door. He's going to get a piece of paper that nobody can take away from him. And on top of that, if he is built for it, we're going to develop this guy into a freak athlete because we have the best facilities. If you want to argue, it's like we'll do a price compare. Pull up your receipts. I'll compare it, and we can really find out who's telling the truth here. That's how good Nebraska's facilities are. I think they can openly boast that, and if someone wants to challenge them, pull out the receipts. We'll do a price check. Like it's gotten to that good. So you have all that. You got the nutrition. We talked about with Emma Spence and Genesis Gibson, both former gymnasts. You have everything you need in terms of to be the best athlete possible. And then you have coaches that so far, I think they have the right message. That's the stuff you want to hear. Real quick, we'll go to the text line here. Unknown texter says you are correct, but I think Nebraska has a lot to gain by getting out of the gate with a win. We are 4-6 in the last 10 openers. And yeah, that's a fantastic point. Going back to Cincinnati and Nebraska in that opening game, who's going to have the real pressure there? Nebraska will certainly have some pressure. I just think the fact that Cincinnati has like no pressure is scary. The team with no pressure is always a little bit more terrifying. Nebraska's pressure is have a good start. We were talking about the Dublin curse earlier. I know that was the Scott Frost era, but like, what are you doing in a national and televised game trying to be cute? Play within yourselves. And that's why I kind of started off with that whole thing is if Nebraska just plays within themselves, you don't have to get cute. You don't have to ask, hey, Archie Wilson, fake him out here and, walk right, just turn around and walk left. I don't know what Wilson's all going to do at this point, but you don't even want him to be cute with anything because that means we're being extra because we're unsure or we're trying to force an advantage. If this is the Nebraska team that Matt Rule's been talking about, that Braden's been talking about, that Satterfield, that Foley, that, new coordinator John Butler, that new coordinator Dana Holgerson, if all those guys are telling the truth, there's no reason that Nebraska needs to do cute with anything outside of, maybe some Harburg sets. Just because I don't know how cute that's going to be. I think that might be an actual part of the offense and we might use that multiple times. So that'd be an instance I can kind of see why we do that. Like, let's see if this works, and we'll keep throwing this out there and changing it as the season goes by, and just make teams a little bit nervous when they see Harburg out there. And I think he will be out there playing just as that tight end. Maybe not first, second. I still got to figure out what that tight end lineup's going to be. But again, you're hearing great things, like just all great things out of camp. And I am wanting to believe it all, but it's going to come down to Cincinnati. Can you beat the team that has no pressure? And take that with a grain of salt. I understand Cincinnati has some pressure to win. The head coach has a ton of pressure to win that game, but no one is going to be surprised if they lose. And that's kind of what I mean by that. And then you got Nebraska, who's got that opportunity. If they win that game, you go 3-0. I think a real opportunity to go 3-0. And as the unknown texter pointed out, 4-6 in the last 10 season openers, despicable. Like you see what that does to teams. Like, go ask Florida State. How did that work out? Did you guys bounce back? No, we actually never did. The season just went completely south. We had NFL talent. And there's a lot more reasons than just losing the season opener, but that definitely played a major role. And you'd be hard pressed to convince anyone that it didn't. That team's confidence was shot down. Because now in the era of social media too, it's, And it's easy as adults to say it with youth, like, get off your phone, stop reading that stuff. I know so many adults that will tell me everything they read, about the Middle East to Europe to Asia to Cambodia to the South Africa, just because they're on the internet and they're reading all that stuff. Now you're a college athlete. Like, what's going to be on your feed? Everything you did good from your last game and everything you did horrible. Like, that's what's on your news feed, not whatever everybody else is. But you see it all the time. It's super easy to get obsessed with what everyone else is saying to where you just lag your own thoughts. And that is the kind of the plague of like student athletes today, if they can really avoid that social media, because they grew up on it. Maybe they're better at dealing with it, but there's going to be some noise and they got to tune out that noise. And you're hearing them that they kind of are, but again, you go 3-0, that noise is going to get really, really loud heading into Michigan. And even if you lose that game, fair enough, not great, but that's that stretch I'm talking about. Can you get to October and go 4-0? Because if you lose that Michigan game, you're going to hear the doubts creep in. If you lose that Michigan State team, the building is going to be on fire. And then you got to go beat Maryland, which Maryland's somewhat of a trap game. It feels like it's going to be probably a gloomy, somewhat cold day over on the East Coast. Morning game, not a lot of eyes on it, not a lot of expectations for Maryland. And once again, it'll be one of those games where Nebraska, depending on how they did, is probably going to be favored by, one score, whether it's 3 or 6.5, or it gets to the point where it's just dead even because Nebraska's really failed to meet expectations. You got to figure out a way to get through a sleepy game. That's a record I'd love to look up. How's Nebraska done on the quote unquote sleepy early games or middle of the day games? Typically not great. To be fair, not a lot of the regular seasons have gone towards the winning column, regardless of what time of day it was or what alternate we were wearing. But nonetheless, I know it hasn't been a good showing for us. Like I said, Minnesota's gotten the better of Nebraska over and over and over. And then once again, we're getting the PJ Fleck trap, just lavishing Nebraska with praise. Like, these guys are good. The next team to watch out for in the Big Ten, I'm telling you, watch out for Nebraska. He might be totally honest. It's just ironic when you have the coach saying that, who's just beat the brakes off you over and over and over. Whether it's Scott Frost or Matt Rule, I don't care. We're beating you guys. So it's like a backhanded compliment. It's like if you ever, get beat with kindness, if you're playing a competitor or an athlete who's a real athlete, they're better than you, they're killing you. And instead of being mean, they're just really nice and sweet. And it almost makes it harder to come back and fight because it's just it's not a weird response. It's almost like a tactical response. Like I said, I don't think PJ Fleck is even really playing games here. But I mean, hearing those comments from a coach who's really just destroyed your program every time we've met him, whether we're playing at home or we're playing them in Minnesota, even if it's close. We got to the red zone last time we played, pick 6. Here you go. Jeff Sims throws it. That's the game. So that's another team where, again, on paper, Nebraska is going to be the better team. We're going to probably have the favorite on the spread. Just like every other time we played Minnesota, and Minnesota comes out on top. And Minnesota has just been praising Nebraska like a lot of the other Big Ten, like a lot of the national polls. I want to believe all of it, but we have to get to a point to where, like I said, October, you go 4-0. Because you know who goes 4-0 in that stretch? Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, maybe even Michigan, current Michigan. If Bryce Underwood is as good as promised to be, those teams go 4-0. The teams that don't are the teams in the middle. And Nebraska has been at best in the middle. Last year, we finally were in the middle. Everything before then, we were realistically the bottom third team. So, I mean, we got to take some steps to get there. I like everything this university is doing within this football program. I think all the messages are right. I think they're doing a good job. Like, let's respect that it is a university and that academics are a part of this, that we're not just handing out millions of dollars for these guys to play football and not get a degree. You got to emphasize that, and they do. So I give them respect for that. Still at the point where I got to see it, though. I want to believe it. Everyone here wants to believe it. I have nothing but hope. I think they are doing what's the right thing. But at the end of the day, I still just, even if it's not college football playoffs next year, as long as there's improvement, that's a win. Because we have to remind ourselves sometimes of how bad this program was. Like, it really was bad. Growing up, born in 99, saw Bo Pelini. People thought Bo Pelini was trash. We know how that turned out. People thought Mike Riley was bad. They were right. I think we were all right on that one. Great guy, not a great coach. And then, of course, Scott Frost. I think we all got hoodwinked into thinking, how could this possibly go wrong? It goes wrong when you get a little bit too comfortable and you think you're walking on air. And unfortunately, I think that's kind of what happened with the Frost era. And I'm okay with saying that because he's had plenty of moments on the podium where he hasn't been too sweet back. So nonetheless, good luck on your career at UCF. Never going to actively root against the guy, but I will call out what has been done. That whole saga was a disaster. I think we all got hoodwinked, like I said, and now we're in the Matt Rule era. That is a lot of stuff to pick up from. A lot of, if I'm being honest, just crap to clean up from that previous era. And I think we are starting to see it. Like, again, the zone Dylan Raiola and that Nebraska entire roster with the coaching staff, they deserve a ton of credit for bringing them from the depths of the hell and finally putting them in a bowl game, and not only doing that, but winning it. Having some pride for Husker football once again. And I think that culture is coming back alive. You're seeing it with some of the bigger name recruits. Obviously, we locked down Pittman, 5-star, 4-star, depending on what you're looking at. Omaha native. I don't know if we get that Omaha native in years past, because the pride and culture for Nebraska was so broken. I mean, you're promising a boulevard of broken dreams. To quote that, I don't even know what that song's from, but nonetheless, like, what are you going to promise when it's been that bad? You're the changing factor. Well, now things have changed. So now you can tell guys like, hey, you're not the changing factor. We're in the process of changing. We're about to take off. Hop on the ride. We'll get there. Before, you had to sell, like, you're what we need. Without you, this program, we're not going anywhere yet. I mean, it's a tough sell. And you really got to get guys to buy in at an immense level. And that's when you get the Adrian Martinez. They'll always get my praise for sticking it through, because, you know, without Adrian Martinez, this program might have been really in the dumps, like seriously in the dumps. He was, you know, I know it was a 3-win season, but can you imagine how bad those losses would be if Adrian wasn't at quarterback? We were playing some of the best teams in the country and losing by 1 score. You're losing the game. That's what people remember. But the Husker fan base remembers a little bit more, and they remember at least the pride in it. So I think he salvaged that part of it. And of course, Matt Rule taking over. I got nothing but high hopes, and I got to see it. But it's my whole point to put things full circle here. We're getting a lot of breadcrumbs to make me think it's going to work. To what level? I don't think it's a college football playoff appearance, but I think it's improvement from last year. And as long as you stay in that direction, I think we'll all be happy at the end of the season. With that being said, we do got to throw out the break here, already over the clock. You guys are welcome to join in. Like I said before, we'll keep talking football. I do want to sprinkle in some NFL. But before we do that, we got to talk SEC. SEC, breaking news, officially going to play 9 conference games. So we got that news as well. That was about a few hours ago. So we'll break that down. What is the SEC doing with their conference schedule? How did Sankey finally get budged? He was adamant on never doing that. Well, now we're here, and they will be officially playing 9 conference games in 2026. So we'll talk about that next. Don't go anywhere. Harrison Arns going solo. Talk to you guys on the other side.
Sometimes it's hard to know if substance use is becoming a problem, especially when it becomes part of daily life or social routines. Take the free assessment, Is Your Substance Use Harmful?, at myhealthymind.crediblemmind.com so you can understand your risk. You can take the assessment anonymously. In just minutes, you'll get practical, non-judgmental guidance and resources to support your health and well-being. This message is funded in part by the CDC OD2A grant.
We've been hunting these fields north of Kearney since high school. My buddy Ryan has always been my wingman, the life of the party. But I saw a change, and he got really down. Talked about his life being worthless.
If you know someone who's struggling, talk to them about temporarily storing their guns away from their home, taking care of friends and neighbors. It's what we do in Nebraska. Paid for by the University of Nebraska Public Policy Center, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Nebraska Veterans Aid is here for veterans and dependents facing unforeseen financial emergencies. Get assistance with food, fuel, shelter, clothing, transportation, and even funeral and medical expenses. If you're a veteran facing a financial emergency, apply for Nebraska Veterans Aid through your county veteran service officer. Learn more at veterans.nebraska.gov/NVA. Sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station. Nebraska Veterans Aid is here for veterans and dependents facing unforeseen financial emergencies. Get assistance with food, fuel, shelter, clothing, transportation, and even funeral and medical expenses. If you're a veteran facing a financial emergency, apply for Nebraska Veterans Aid through your county veteran service officer. Learn more at veterans.nebraska.gov/NVA. Sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket.
Okay, playing 93.7 The Ticket.
Alexa, turn down the lights.
Dimming the lights.
Alexa, order a pizza, the big one, all the toppings.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Alexa,
That's a lot of pizza for just one man.
Alexa, just do it. Stop judging me, just do it.
As you wish.
Thanks, Alexa. You're my best friend.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. That's doihaveprediabetes.org.
Wait, did they just say 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes? That's 33.33333% of adults. That means it could be me, my boss, or my boss's boss, or me, my favorite sister, or my other sister. That's 7 members of my 21-person romantic book club. Wait, the 1 in 3 could be me, my karaoke partner Carol, or my karaoke enemy Jeff. I'm going to take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
Okay, kids, Dad's gonna teach you how to dance. First, spread your feet apart. Then, pump your knee, nod your head, shake your hips, and bite your lip ever so slightly. Now, with one hand in the air, point at people with the other hand. I call that the rock star.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids.
Now, make a face like it just smells something bad.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
In every office, there's 2 types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday. You lost Wednesday. You're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe. Back to the Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in. Harrison Arens still on the ones and twos. Got 2 more segments with me before we get to the best of. And in case you missed it, we do got Adam Carricker, local favorite, personally one of my favorites as well, who covers Husker football on a really year-round basis. We'll play that after for you guys as well. He gets in some of the details about what's been going on with Husker football. You know, he talks about that O-line and that tight end room in particular. But before we go there, we still got 2 segments with my very self, Harrison Arens. Like I said, you guys can always join in. We had someone before, 402-464-5685. That is the Sartor Hamann text line. And then you can join in on any of the streams as well. Facebook, YouTube, X, Out, Channel 961. All right, with that out of the way, let's talk about it. Greg Sankey, he finally budged. The SEC has budged. It's ironic because I was complaining about it with Rudy, how the SEC just needs to play 9 conference games. And then little did I know, they put out an announcement a few hours ago that they will be playing 9 conference games. This is, let's just hear from the man himself, Greg Sankey. Quote, adding a 9th SEC game underscores our universities, says commitment to delivering the most competitive football schedule in the nation. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey also said, this format protects rivalries, increased competitive balance, and paired with our requirement to play an additional power opponent, ensures SEC teams are well prepared to compete and succeed in the college football playoff. Now, why this sticks out is I thought that was one that he was stuck on, that he would never budge. I always thought they wanted to keep it the 8 game because in reality, it gives them a better chance to get their teams in there. If you have a bias towards the SEC, and maybe the bias is right or wrong, I won't debate you on that. There's definitely years you look at the ACC and you know they're better than what the Big Ten was. And then you have years like last year where you're looking at all the bowl games. It's like SEC, maybe you are getting a little bit too much bias here. You got beat by everybody when it came to bowl season. Really the biggest one for me on that was Michigan taking down Alabama. It's like, all right, Bama, the DeBoer tide is nothing like the Saban tide. I'll say that much when it comes to Alabama. So you are seeing some teams feel like they're falling in stock. You got other teams buying up in stock like Vanderbilt. Does Vanderbilt keep it up? I don't really think so. I think Diego Pavia has maybe another good year, maybe another 7-win season, but I'm just not expecting a ton from them to keep it going longevity-wise. So it does shock me a little bit. And I wonder if part of this is try to get through the college football playoff. It talks, which does annoy me a little bit. Let's keep it at 12. We don't need to expand the college football playoffs. 16 was too much in my mind. You can make an argument. I will grit my teeth and maybe I can see eye to eye. Then you got our own guy, Tony Petiti, talking like a madman, talking about, hey, let's just do 28. Let's just have a 28 college football team playoff bracket, because then we definitely know the regular season doesn't mean jack squat. Horrible move. Really just a mockery of the idea of the regular season. If you want to have a 28 team college football playoff, I hate it. We're going to have a line here somewhere where the fans, the commissioners, the ADs need to draw a line in the sand and say, hey, we got to look out for the sport's long-term interest, not just these TV deal contracts that everyone's throwing in our faces. How big of a bonus do we all really need? Do we all need, an extra $1 million bonus at the end of the year? So we go with a 28 college football playoff format so everyone can walk home with, extra few million in their pockets, knowing that the college football product as a whole has gotten worse because the regular season means less than ever. That's exactly what that sounds like to me. And I don't have to sugarcoat it. The only reason you do that is for more money. And that is, I keep harping on this. So apologies if you've heard it before. When the last 10 decisions of college football have felt like they've been motivated by money, it's a little concerning. Now, business is always going to be motivated by money, but when it becomes the sole process, what are we basing our decision on? Money. Because it doesn't make sense for, if you're a lacrosse team at USC, now you got to go travel to Rutgers to play lacrosse. Lacrosse isn't bringing in any of that money. Football is. And, even other sports like bowling, those guys usually leave on Thursday. They don't come back until Sunday, late Sunday. Sometimes not until Monday, 2, 3 a.m. And you're going to have those guys fly all the way across the country. Again, this is why I think that student part's a big part, and I think people lose track of it. You can't just send student athletes everywhere and then just forget about the part where they have to be in school for classes. And now we're talking about a 28 college football playoff format, which I'm almost certain will get shut down, so I won't rant on it too much longer. How long is that playoff going to take? When do we have to start a 28 playoff format, and when does that format end? You lose total sight of what the college football thing is. It is not a pro league yet. If you want to make it a pro league, then stop the mockery of what the student athlete part is and just say, we're a pro league. We don't require student athletes to even graduate. Because that's kind of the vibe I get sometimes with some of these decisions and moves. I'm I don't know if you guys really care about what's important there. That is a unique element that you need to respect, along with making the regular season just meaningful in college football, and outside of college football, respecting the rest of student athletes, which football is the moneymaker. There's no denying that. There's no denying that it makes sense that a lot of the money that gets put towards football, because football is going to bring in the money to allow you to renovate the track and field later. That's going to let you renovate the pools later. But there is a line. And then my whole fear is I don't see enough people drawing lines. I do think with the 28 college football playoff format, I did hear some people draw some lines, which was good. Some people really make fun of it. Urban Meyer even, I think, made fun of it. What a ludicrous idea. That's a reaction you kind of need. Sometimes it's okay to call things out for being absolutely crazy. And that's what that, unfortunately, Big Ten commissioner wanted to throw out there. 2018 playoff, way too much. Doesn't make any sense in the world other than, like I said, I think it's just kind of a greed move with TV deals and not really looking at the product as a whole and not worrying about the product deteriorating over time because you got your money in that year. All right, that's enough on that rant. I know I've been through it before. Back to the SEC, 9 conference games. Also a good thing just to do 9 conference games. You kind of see it every year with the SEC. You run into a lot of years. It's okay, we need a Bama and LSU. We need an LSU and even Vanderbilt. Just someone. Just give me a South Carolina would be a better example. We need to see South Carolina, who's kind of this middle of the tier team who's showing some promise. What do they look like against in Alabama? Do they win? I don't know. If they win, maybe they make it to the college football playoffs. There's a lot of those games in the SEC because you only get 8 conference games. You're left almost needing one more for a lot of those teams, just kind of flirting at the edge of the college football playoffs, where they're kind of being held up by the AP bias, which again, I'm okay with that. Sometimes the preseason poll, it exists. Whether you think it's totally fair or not, it exists. And the SEC gets some bias. And I think rightfully so at times, because like I said, you look at some of the years and it's clearly the SEC had better teams top to bottom. And you look at some years with the Big Ten. Last year in particular, Big Ten was actually better. But that nonetheless, At the Big Ten, you at least always kind of knew who your top dogs were because you had 9 conference games. It was going to come down to it sooner or later where Michigan's going to have to play Penn State. Penn State's going to have to play Ohio State. Michigan, Ohio State, they play every year. Or Oregon is going to have to, like, there's 9 conference games. It just puts you in the money for another tough game. Even if you look at Nebraska has somewhat of a quote-unquote cakewalk this year. Let's just take off another Big Ten game. Make it even easier. We'll schedule in Sam Houston, week 9, or Mercer, week 11. Like, whatever we want to do to make it easier for us, we'll do that. We'll avoid the tough games and just kind of let our seeding in the AP poll carry us because we know we'll never have to play that game. So if we just take care of Mercer over here and we know that we got a weaker opponent and say Vanderbilt the end our regular season, then who cares about having another tough conference opponent? But if you're the team on the outside looking in like South Carolina, you're just, upset at the idea you don't even get an opportunity because you don't have enough conference games. Also help out just the feud between non-conference games. You will see this all the time when Big Ten and SEC fans argue. Big Ten will say we play 9 conference games. SEC will say, yeah, but you guys play jokes non-conference. SEC, they say we play 8 conference games, but we'll schedule in an LSU. We'll schedule in, and that is true, but not true for everybody. And that's always kind of been the problem with it. Same thing for the Big Ten. That is true, but not for everybody. Nebraska was going to play Tennessee until we saw how this college football playoff thing was shaking out. And it's like, we don't really need that game if we're going to play 9 conference games. You saw it with Indiana. West Virginia, no thank you. We'll take a weaker opponent instead. Why? We don't need to win anymore. It's a 12-team playoff format. We got 9 conference games. SEC, they needed another game like that. Some of those universities, if they weren't super favored on the AP poll, or if it's kind of just when that school's tradition to schedule those tougher games as a non-con game early in the year, that'll at least help the disparity there. Now, I think you'll see some teams still risk it and play a tougher non-con, but I think you'll see more schools like Nebraska and, on an even more extreme extent, Indiana, where we're going to schedule some tougher teams, but we're going to schedule tougher teams that on paper we know we're better than, or you're going to have more Indianas where you just schedule nobody because you really feel no need to risk any of it. With that being said, there it is. SEC going to a 9-game conference schedule. I'm surprised to see it. I didn't think they'd budge, especially not that quick, but it does not take effect until 2026. So the 9-conference game schedule starts for the SEC. Greg Sankey put it out there. It is officially happening, but does not start until 2026. With that being said, I got to throw it to my final break here. Don't go anywhere. We got one more segment. We'll talk some NFL preseason. We got 2 games going on right now. We'll talk about those next. Harrison Arns, the ones and twos. Talk to you guys in a bit.
When you live a tobacco-free life, you're free to live more fully. You're free to be more active and to breathe easier when you are, to be more present with family and friends, and to enjoy food and drinks more fully without nicotine dulling your senses. Tobacco-free can mean better physical health, mental health, and financial health. Giving up tobacco can give you more life. Learn more at quitnow.ne.gov. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired in association with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hey, it's me, your cell phone. We need to talk about something serious. I know you love me. I know you like using me wherever you are, but I feel like this isn't working out when you're driving. I know you may think that it's possible to focus both on me and the road, but I just don't feel the same way. I think we should spend time away from each other when you're driving. It's for the best.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. That's doihaveprediabetes.org.
Wait, did they just say 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes? That's 33.3333% of adults. That means it could be me, my boss, or my boss's boss, or me, my favorite sister, or my other sister. That's 7 members of my 21-person romantic book club. Wait, the 1 in 3 could be me, my karaoke partner Carol, or my karaoke enemy Jeff. I'm going to take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
We've been hunting these fields north of Kearney since high school. My buddy Ryan has always been my wingman, the life of the party. But I saw a change, and he got really down. talked about his life being worthless.
If you know someone who's struggling, talk to them about temporarily storing their guns away from their home, taking care of friends and neighbors. It's what we do in Nebraska. Paid for by the University of Nebraska Public Policy Center, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Western Sand and Gravel is hiring for a variety of positions at their sand and gravel plants near Ashland. Apply today and receive a $2,500 hiring bonus. Available positions include plant operators, dredge operators, and shop service technicians. They offer great pay, health benefits, 401k, a wellness program, paid holidays, and paid time off. No matter your experience level, on-the-job training is available to help you build a rewarding career with Western Sand and Gravel. Start your career today. Visit westernsand.com.
There's no better way to spark a child's imagination than to get lost in the adventure of a good book. I'm Jenny Benson, president of NSEA. Working together, parents and teachers can help every child succeed. You can help by reading to your child and let your child read to you. Encourage reading in your home and make it a priority. Make reading fun and a time that you and your child look forward to spending together.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association in this station.
Breaking here at the news desk. When you stack Allo Internet, DirecTV, and mobile, you can lock in your price for 2 years. Sources are confirming that when you stack Allo Internet, DirecTV, and mobile, your monthly price drops and you're locked in for 2 years. That's fiber fast internet, premium streaming TV, and reliable nationwide mobile coverage. And this just in, you must switch by Labor Day to secure that locked-in pricing for 2 years. Switch, stack, and save at allofiber.com/stack.
Play ball! Pitch the perfect idea for a family outing or date night with tickets to the next Salt Dogs game. Nothing says summer fun like an action-packed evening at Haymarket Park. Come root for the home team with a hot dog and a cold drink. Plus, visit saltdogs.com to learn about special events and promotions, including group discounts. Don't miss out on the thrill and excitement of a Salt Dogs win. Visit saltdogs.com to reserve your tickets today.
93.7 The Ticket is your home for every Kansas City Royals baseball game. Bobby Witt Jr., Salvador Perez, Vinny Pasquantino, and the rest of the Royals attempt to make the postseason for the second season in a row. And you can hear all the action on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Your home for Kansas City Royals baseball. Back to The Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in. Final segment here. We got about 5 minutes left here. And then, like I said, we'll play some best of Adam Carricker. He had a great hour as well. But before we do so, let's talk some NFL preseason before I get out of here officially. We do got the Steelers leading the Panthers 19-10. Currently about 12 seconds to go, fourth quarter. So it looks like Steelers should be able to run away with that one. And then also at the same time, third quarter, about the start of it, 14 minutes left to go, 14-10. Giants over the Patriots. Panthers, Steelers, really not a whole lot of interest in that one. I don't think. We didn't see Bryce Young at all either, so not a lot going on there. For the Steelers, no Rodgers. You're really just looking at depth in that one, and without eyes on it, don't have a ton to say. We do got Skylar Thompson. He's in there. He's actually played a pretty good game for the Steelers. 11-13, 152 yards with 1 touchdown. Bryce Perkins currently in for the Panthers. He's 10 of 11, 71 yards. So good day for the backup QBs for the very least in terms of completion percentage. And then really about the most eye-popping stats. There's not a lot going on in this game. Maybe I missed the storyline, but we'll move on here. Then, of course, Patriots, Giants, that one 10-14. Still plenty of time to go. 2 quarters roughly left. And Jackson Dart, not great. 50% completion rating. 6 for 12, 81 yards, and a touchdown. Jackson Dart is interesting. I mean, a lot of people were talking about him early that he might be one of those guys to start sneaking, climbing up there on the draft. I liked him over there at Ole Miss. I was really trying to figure out, is it Lane Kiffin? Is it Jackson Dart? Are they both making it work? I do think Lane Kiffin's going to miss Jackson Dart a lot. What he does show, he's got an absolute cannon of an arm. If he just works on that accuracy a little bit, and I mean, again, it's, to me, so much of the NFL just comes down to timing and just getting used to that next level speed. You know, you even saw it with my Chicago Bears. I always reference it, looking at Caleb Williams. His whole thing at USC, and you see it with a lot of quarterbacks that are good at scrambling. I will scramble as long as it takes. I'm too much of an athlete. You know, if I scramble and there's nothing, worst case scenario, I throw it out of bounds. Well, he tried that in the NFL. Got him licked a few times on the sideline, taking some brutal hits, thinking he had a little bit more time than he did. Also, just in the pocket, you could tell he took off quicker than he wanted to. Like that pressure, it's even faster. Even if you have a good offensive line, those defenses are going to get to you faster. I mean, that's a whole nother unit in itself. You got to shave maybe like another half second off there on your processing time. So it's a growth that quarterbacks have to go through. And unfortunately, it almost just feels like one of those things where it is not, you cannot learn it. The only way to learn it is you have to go through it. You're just rarely going to see anybody just go to the NFL and just start having success. I mean, you very rarely, I can't think of any, backup quarterback maybe. If you've been a backup and you kind of been waiting in the wing and then it's your turn to take over, I can see you having a better start. But like really all rookie quarterbacks, you almost just have to go through it. There is no way to get you ready through it other than if you got a Caleb Williams problem, like I said, where you like to scramble around the pocket a little bit too much. You like to maybe put a little bit too magic on plays when just take the down, throw it away. We'll try again on the next one. He took a few licks and then he understood. Okay, can't do that. It's different. Same thing, even with Jaden Daniels. He was much better, cleaner start, but he kind of put it together earlier, but he felt the clock immediately and just used his legs. Luckily for him, he was able to use his legs, but as time went on, he started using his legs less and less and only using them when he really needed to, or it was just that much green space ahead of him. He's like, I can throw for 10 yards or run for 20. I'm going to take the 20. That was his development. Now, his was a lot prettier in the sense that, because you think with Dan Quinn, I mean, you got Cliff Kingsbury over there. You got a solid lineup of coaches on top of, a pretty good squad that's coming together. I think they still got a decent amount of capital they can spend too if they want to keep tuning that roster up. But cleaner start. But for him, he still had the development of let's choose when to scramble because he could he's such a gifted athlete. He could really felt like pull it out anytime he wanted to. But it was good to see him kind of go through the Lamar Jackson development. Like, I know I can take off. I know I can scramble and get 3, 4, 10, 15 yards more often than not. But I got to start punishing people with my arm. The more I do that, the more I can run for, instead of 10, I can run for 20. I can run for 30. And that's where you get to that MVP level of Lamar Jackson where you're just terrified. I mean, he drops back. He knows if he's got an angle on you, he can beat you to the first down. And if you decide to chase him, he's mobile enough to throw it on the run right over the top of your head on an absolute dot. Terrifying player. That's kind of the road for Jaden Daniels as well. I think if he can get there, like he can have a Lamar Jackson type ceiling. Just what I've seen from him so far. And, brutal to say because they absolutely got the better of the Bears and Jaden Daniels. He stayed, despite them needing a Hail Mary to win the whole thing, Jaden Daniels, a little bit short. He still stood in there and delivered it, though. And you got to give him credit for it. With that being said, though, I do got to get out of here. I appreciate you guys listening. Nonetheless, last time I'll be on air until Sunday. But final update, you got the 14-10 Giants leading the Patriots preseason, and then it did wrap up. Steelers beat the Panthers 19-10. We will have Royals back again tomorrow. If you haven't heard the news, you haven't checked out social media, officially back. Shout out to Eric, our Ticket Tech, for working on that tower, making sure everything was proper. And then, of course, everyone with the Royals for helping out as well. So we do got that back. Royals back on the airwaves for you guys as they make a final push in their season. Things have been looking great as of late. They need a strong finish, though, to make that postseason. Like I said, appreciate you guys listening. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday night. I got the best of coming up next. Adam Carricker Show. Don't go anywhere.